I was 71 years old the day I learned that love, apparently, has office hours. It was a Thursday. I remember because Thursdays used to be my favorite day, the day my late husband Richard and I would drive to the farmer's market, his hand resting on mine over the console. He'd been gone 6 years now, but I still caught myself setting out 2 coffee cups some mornings. The invitation cards were spread across my kitchen table, cream-colored, embossed with silver lettering. You are cordially invited to celebrate Eleanor Hartley's completion of her master's degree in art history. 2 years of online classes, research papers that made my eyes water, and Zoom seminars where I was older than most of my professors. At 71, I'd finally finished what I'd abandoned at 23 when I got pregnant with my son, Marcus. I'd ordered a cake from the bakery on Maple Street, the one that made Richard's birthday cakes for 30 years. I'd planned a simple dinner, nothing elaborate. Roasted chicken with herbs from my garden, the wild rice pilaf Marcus used to request every Sunday, and that strawberry tart my daughter Victoria always loved. I'd even bought champagne, the real stuff, not the cheap sparkling wine. I sent the invitations 4 weeks in advance, called each of my children personally. "Mom, that's amazing," Victoria had said, her voice bright and sharp like cut crystal. "I'm so proud of you. 71 and a master's degree. I'll definitely be there." Marcus had been more reserved, but that was Marcus. "That's great, Mom. Real impressive. Yeah, I'll put it on my calendar." My granddaughter Zoe, Victoria's daughter, had actually screamed into the phone. "Grandma, oh my God, you're such a badass. I'm coming for sure. I'm bringing flowers. No, I'm bringing a whole garden." The day before the celebration, I drove to the market. I picked out the best chicken, inspected every strawberry, bought fresh thyme and rosemary. The young man at the checkout counter couldn't have been more than 20, helped me load my bags. "Special occasion?" he asked. "My graduation," I said, and I couldn't help smiling. His face lit up. "No way! Congratulations! That's really cool." A stranger was more excited about my achievement than I'd heard my own children be, but I pushed the thought away. The morning of my celebration, I woke up at 6. I'd barely slept, if I'm honest. I kept thinking about how I'd walk across that digital stage during the online ceremony, how my children would see that even at 71, their mother could still accomplish something, that I wasn't just the woman who drove them to soccer practice and packed their lunches and paid for their college educations. I put on my best dress navy blue with small white flowers, the one Victoria had given me 2 Christmases ago. I did my makeup carefully. My hands shook a little when I put on the pearl earrings Richard had given me for our 40th anniversary. The graduation ceremony was at 2 o'clock. I set up my laptop in the living room, angled it so my children could see the screen if they arrived early. At exactly 2, they called my name. Eleanor Marie Hartley, Master of Arts in Art History, summa cum laude. I accepted my digital diploma. I heard the applause through my computer speakers, and I looked at my living room, empty except for me and my laptop, and I smiled for the screenshot they were taking. After the ceremony, I went to the kitchen. I'd set the table that morning. 6 places me, Marcus, his wife Jennifer, Victoria, her husband Todd, and Zoe. The good china, the cloth napkins Richard's mother had embroidered, candles I'd been saving for something special. I put the chicken in at 4. It needed 90 minutes, which would make it ready at 5:30. Perfect for a 6 o'clock dinner. At 5:15, I texted the family group chat. "Chicken's almost ready. Can't wait to see everyone." At 5:30, I took the chicken out, let it rest, started the rice, washed the strawberries. At 5:45, I checked my phone. No responses. At 6, I called Marcus. It rang 4 times. "Hey, Mom. Can't really talk right now." "Marcus, dinner's ready. Are you close?" A pause. A long one. "Mom, I thought that was next week?" My chest tightened. "No, honey, it's today. I sent the invitation a month ago. We talked about it last week." "Oh man, Mom, I'm sorry. I'm in Seattle. There's this tech conference. I thought I told you I couldn't make it." He hadn't. I would have remembered. It's okay, I heard myself say. Is Jennifer coming? Jennifer's with me. Sorry, Mom. We'll celebrate when I'm back. Okay? Proud of you? He hung up before I could answer. I stood there with the phone in my hand, looking at the table set for 6. I called Victoria. Mom, hi. How was the ceremony? It was lovely. Dinner's ready. Are you on your way? Silence. Not the pause kind, the guilty kind. Oh, Mom. Oh, no. Isn't that next Saturday? Victoria, it's today. Your brother just… Mom, I'm at the Thompsons Lake House. Todd's colleague invited us for the weekend. We drove up this morning. She lowered her voice. This is really important for Todd's partnership track, you know? We can't just leave. The lake house, I repeated. Which lake? Lake Tahoe. It's beautiful here, Mom. You'd love it. Lake Tahoe. A 6-hour drive. She'd left this morning, knowing it was my graduation day. But you said you'd be here. I really thought it was next week, Mom. I'm so sorry. We'll do something special when we're back. My treat. Anywhere you want. What about Zoe? Zoe's at her friend's house. Some birthday thing. She was really bummed about missing your dinner. Zoe was 23, old enough to make her own decisions. If she'd been that bummed, she could have come. I looked at the table. The embroidered napkins. The good china. The champagne in the ice bucket. Have fun at the lake, I said, and hung up. I sat down at the dining room table. At the head, where Richard used to sit, I looked at the 5 empty chairs. 71 years old. 2 years of studying, writing papers while my friends played bridge, missing book club to attend online lectures. Summa cum laude. And I was going to eat this dinner alone. I thought I would cry. I waited for it. The hot sting behind my eyes, the tightness in my throat. It didn't come. Instead, something cold settled in my chest. Something quiet and clear, like ice water. I got up. I turned off the oven where I'd been keeping the rice warm. I put the chicken back in the refrigerator. I left everything on the table, the plates, the napkins, the candles. Evidence. I poured myself a glass of champagne and went to the living room. I opened my laptop. I don't use social media much. I have a Facebook account that Zoe set up for me years ago, mostly so I could see photos of my grandchildren. I opened it. Victoria's latest post was from 2 hours ago. A photo of her and Todd on a deck overlooking a pristine blue lake, cocktails in hand, both of them in designer sunglasses. The caption, "Sometimes you just need to unplug and recharge. Grateful for friends who get it. Number Lake Tahoe. Number weekend vibes. Number blessed." Posted at 4 p.m. An hour before my dinner, I scrolled down. Marcus had posted yesterday a photo from the Seattle Conference Center, him in front of a banner for Tech Future Summit 2025. The caption, "Excited to be keynoting at Number Tech Future. Innovation never sleeps." I clicked on the conference website. The summit was 3 days. It had started yesterday. It would end tomorrow. He'd known he couldn't come for at least a week. I took a long drink of champagne. Then I picked up my phone and called the one person who'd actually shown excitement about my achievement. "Grandma?" Zoe answered on the first ring. I could hear music in the background. Laughter. "Hi, sweetheart. I don't want to interrupt your party." "What? Hold on." The background noise faded. "Sorry, Grandma. What's up?" "I just wanted to say hi." "Your mom said you're at a friend's birthday?" "Yeah, it's Madison's 23rd. We rented this whole thing at the bowling alley. It's actually pretty fun." "How was your graduation thing? Did everyone show up? Did you get my card?" I had gotten her card. It had arrived yesterday, a handmade watercolor of books and a graduation cap, with a note in her careful handwriting. "To the smartest, coolest grandma in the world, I'm so proud of you. Everyone loved it, honey." I'm looking at it right now. Oh, good. I wasn't sure if it was too childish, but I wanted it to be special. "Are you having fun at your dinner?" I looked at the empty table. "It's wonderful," I said. "I just wanted to hear your voice." "Oh, Grandma, love you so much. Hey, I'm coming over next week, okay? I want to see your diploma and hear all about your classes. Madison's calling me. I gotta go. Love you. Love you too, sweetheart." I hung up. Next week. She'd come next week, just like Marcus would celebrate when he got back. Just like Victoria would take me anywhere I wanted. I sat there in my empty living room, in my navy dress with the white flowers, drinking champagne meant for 6 people. My phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. "Mom, I really am sorry. You understand, right? Todd's career is at such a critical point." Then Marcus. "We'll do something big when I'm back. Promise." I set the phone face down on the coffee table. I was 71 years old. I'd raised these children alone after Richard died. I'd paid for Marcus's MBA at Stanford, $160,000. I'd given Victoria $50,000 for her wedding. I'd babysat Zoe every Tuesday and Thursday for the first 5 years of her life so Victoria could build her real estate career. I'd been there for every recital, every graduation, every promotion party, every crisis. And on my graduation day, my one day, they were at a tech conference, a lake house, and a bowling alley. I finished my champagne. Then I made a decision. The next morning, I called my lawyer. Richard and I had been careful about our estate planning. We'd built a comfortable life. He'd been a civil engineer. I'd been a substitute teacher before going full-time mom. We'd invested wisely, owned our house outright, had a retirement portfolio that had grown nicely. Between the house, the investments, and Richard's life insurance, my estate was worth about $1.8 million. My will, written 5 years ago, split everything between Marcus and Victoria, with a small trust for Zoe's future children. Eleanor, David Parsons, my lawyer, sounded surprised. "Good to hear from you. Everything all right?" "I need to change my will, David." "Of course. What changes are we looking at?" I told him. There was a long silence. "Eleanor, I have to ask, are you sure about this? These are significant changes. Have you thought about discussing this with Marcus and Victoria first?" "I've thought about nothing else for 18 hours, David. And no, I'm not discussing it with them." "Can you do this, or do I need to find another lawyer?" No. I can absolutely do this. I just want to make sure you're certain. I've never been more certain of anything in my life." We scheduled an appointment for Monday. Over the weekend, I did something I'd never done before. I went through my phone and looked at my call history with my children over the past 6 months. Marcus had called me 4 times. Twice to ask about his father's old tools in my garage. Once to tell me he'd been promoted. Once to ask if I could help him understand some paperwork about his inheritance from Richard's estate. I had called him 27 times. Victoria had called me 6 times. 3 times about Zoe. Once to ask if I still had her childhood photos. Once to invite me to Todd's father's funeral. Once to ask my pot roast recipe. I had called her 31 times. The only person who called me regularly was Zoe. Once, sometimes twice a week, just to chat. Sunday evening, I called my neighbor, Patricia. We'd lived next door to each other for 23 years. "Eleanor, how was your graduation dinner?" "It didn't happen, Pat." No one came. "What?" "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. What happened?" I told her. "Those ungrateful," she caught herself. "I'm sorry. I know they're your children. But Eleanor, that's just wrong. Pat, do you remember 3 years ago when your daughter forgot your birthday?" Patricia went quiet. "Yeah. She was on that cruise with her husband. You told me you were hurt, but you understood. She had her own life, I remember. And you told me I deserved better. You said if someone matters to you, you make time. I did say that, didn't I?" "You did. You want to come over? I have wine and I just made brownies." I went over. Patricia and I sat on her porch, drinking wine and watching the sunset, and I told her everything about the will change, about what I was planning. "Good," she said firmly. "It's about damn time someone in your family put you first, even if it has to be you." Monday morning, I met with David. We rewrote my will. Marcus and Victoria would each receive $1. The will specifically stated this was intentional, to prevent them from claiming they'd been accidentally omitted. The house and $300,000 would go to Zoe, with a letter explaining that she was the only family member who'd consistently shown she valued our relationship. $500,000 would establish the Richard and Eleanor Hartley Scholarship Fund for non-traditional students over the age of 50 pursuing their first advanced degree. Students from low-income backgrounds would receive priority. The remaining $1 million would be split between several charities: the literacy program, where I'd volunteered for 20 years, the food bank, and the hospice that had cared for Richard in his final weeks. "Done," David said, sliding the papers across his desk. "You'll need 2 witnesses for the signature." His paralegal and secretary witnessed. I signed. It was done. "Eleanor," David said as I stood to leave, "I know this wasn't easy, but I think you're doing the right thing." "So do I, David. So do I." I went home. I made myself lunch, a sandwich and soup, nothing fancy. Then I sat down and wrote 2 letters. The first was to Marcus and Victoria. I didn't write it angry. I wrote it clear. "Dear Marcus and Victoria, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I'm writing this to explain the decisions I've made regarding my estate, and to tell you some things I should have said years ago. I raised you to be independent, successful, ambitious. I'm proud of what you've accomplished. But somewhere along the way, I failed to teach you that success means nothing if you've forgotten the people who helped you achieve it. I spent my adult life putting you first. I gave up my education, my career opportunities, my own dreams to make sure you had everything you needed. I did this gladly. That's what mothers do. But motherhood shouldn't mean martyrdom, and love shouldn't be a one-way street. My graduation was important to me, not because of the degree itself, but because it represented finishing something I'd started 50 years ago. It represented proving to myself that at 71, I could still learn, still grow, still achieve. I invited you to celebrate this with me. You both said you'd be there. You both chose other things. Marcus, you chose a conference you'd known about for weeks. You lied to me about the timing. Victoria, you chose a weekend at a lake house that was important for Todd's partnership. You chose his career over my milestone. Neither of you even called to apologize until the next day. This wasn't about one dinner. This was about a pattern I've been ignoring for years. I call you. You don't call me unless you need something. I remember your important dates. You forget mine. I show up for you. You're too busy for me. I've changed my will. You'll each receive $1. Everything else goes to people and causes that have shown they value what I value. Education, compassion, showing up. Zoe will receive the house and enough money to secure her future. She's the only one of you who calls just to talk, who remembers my birthday without Facebook reminding her, who showed genuine excitement about my achievement. I'm not doing this to punish you. I'm doing this to teach you one final lesson. People aren't obligated to wait forever for you to appreciate them. I loved you both more than anything. I still do. But I finally learned to love myself too. Mum, the second letter was to Zoe. My darling Zoo, by now you know what I've done with my will. I want you to understand why. You're the only one who saw me, not just as mom or grandma, but as Eleanor, a person with dreams and feelings and worth beyond what I could do for others. The house is yours. I hope it brings you the same happiness it brought your grandfather and me. I hope you fill it with people who show up for you, who celebrate you, who see you. Use the money wisely. Travel, learn, build something. But most importantly, surround yourself with people who wouldn't miss your graduation dinner for anything. Thank you for being the one bright light in these last few years. Thank you for calling just to chat. Thank you for remembering. I love you completely. Grandma Eleanor. I sealed both letters and gave them to David for safekeeping. Then I did something I should have done years ago. I started living my life. I joined a book club at the library. I signed up for watercolor classes at the community center, the same class where I'd written my master's thesis on Impressionist techniques. I started volunteering at the art museum downtown, giving tours to school groups. I made friends, real ones. Patricia and I started a weekly dinner tradition. I met other women my age who were widowed, who were learning to build lives that didn't revolve around children who'd grown too busy for them. Marcus called 2 weeks after my graduation. "Hey, Mom, I'm back from Seattle. Want to grab dinner this week? My treat, to celebrate your degree." "I'm actually pretty busy this week, Marcus. I have book club Tuesday, watercolor class Wednesday, and I'm volunteering Thursday and Friday." "Oh, okay. What about next week? Let me check my calendar and get back to you." I didn't check my calendar. I didn't call him back. Victoria texted 3 weeks later. "Mom, let's do brunch this Sunday. I owe you a celebration." I replied, "Sorry, honey. I have plans with friends from my watercolor class. Next Sunday then? I'll let you know." I didn't let her know. I wasn't being cruel. I was simply giving them the same energy they'd given me. And I was discovering something wonderful. I had a life beyond waiting for my children to make time for me. A month after my graduation, Zoe came over. She walked in and looked around. "Grandma, you redecorated." I had. I'd taken down the family photos that dominated every wall, the shrine to children who couldn't spare an evening for me. I'd hung artwork I loved. I'd painted the living room a color I'd always wanted but thought was too bold. I'd bought myself fresh flowers. I decided it was time for some changes, I said. We had tea in my garden. I told her about my classes, my new friends, the museum tour I'd be giving next week. "You seem really happy, Grandma," she said, studying my face. "I am, sweetheart. Happier than I've been in years. Have you talked to Mom and Uncle Marcus? They keep asking me if you're mad at them." "I'm not mad. I'm just busy." "Busy," she repeated, a small smile on her face. "Good for you." She understood. That's why she was getting the house. 3 months after my graduation, Marcus showed up at my door unannounced. "Mom, can we talk?" I let him in, made coffee. We sat in my redecorated living room. "You've been avoiding me," he said. "I've been busy." "Too busy for your own son?" I took a sip of coffee. "Yes, actually, too busy." He looked stunned. "Marcus, you were too busy for my graduation. A one-time event I'd worked toward for 2 years. I'm just too busy for regular dinners. I think that's fair." "Mom, I apologized for that. It was a mix-up with dates." "It wasn't a mix-up. You knew when my graduation was. You chose a conference instead." His face went red. "My career is important. So is my education. So am I." We stared at each other. "I've always been there for you," he said quietly. "Have you?" I pulled out my phone, showed him the call log. 4 calls from you in 6 months, Marcus. 27 from me. I don't think you know what always being there means." He looked at the phone, then at me. Something shifted in his face. "I didn't realize," he said. "No, you didn't, because I never made you realize. I always answered when you called, always helped when you needed something, always made it easy for you to take me for granted." "Mom, I'm 71 years old, Marcus. I spent 50 years making myself available. I'm spending however many years I have left making myself happy." He left 20 minutes later. He looked smaller somehow. Victoria took longer. 4 months before she came by, and only because Zoe told her to. "Mom, you're being ridiculous," she said, standing in my doorway. "All this because we missed one dinner? Come in, Victoria. Let's talk honestly for once." We sat in my garden. I poured us iced tea. "It wasn't one dinner," I said. "It was the pattern. The phone calls I make that you don't return. The visits I initiate that you're too busy for. The constant feeling that I'm an obligation, not a priority. That's not fair. I'm busy. I have a career, a husband, a daughter, and I had 2 children, a husband, and a teaching career I gave up to raise you. But I still made time for my mother. I called her twice a week until she died. I visited every Sunday." Victoria went quiet. Zoe calls me twice a week just to chat, I continued. She's 23, building her career, has a busy social life, but she makes time. Because she wants to, not because she has to. So you're punishing me for not being perfect? I'm protecting myself from being hurt. There's a difference. She left angry. I wasn't surprised. But 3 weeks later, she came back. I talked to Dad, she said quietly. We were sitting on my porch, watching the sunset. Your father's been dead for 6 years, honey. I went to his grave, talked to him there, tried to remember what he would say. She wiped her eyes. He'd tell me I was being an entitled brat, wouldn't he? Probably. I called every Sunday when he was alive. I never missed. Why don't I do that for you? I've wondered that myself. She cried then. Really cried. I'm so sorry, Mom. You deserved better than a daughter who only calls when she needs something. Yes, I said. I did. Do I still? I looked at my daughter. Really looked at her. She'd driven here straight from work, still in her business suit, mascara running down her face. That depends, I said. Are you sorry you got caught? Or sorry you hurt me? Sorry I hurt you. Sorry I took you for granted. Sorry I chose a lake house over my mom's graduation. She grabbed my hand. I want to do better. Will you let me try? I squeezed her hand back. 1 Sunday dinner a month. You come here. We cook together. We talk. No phones, no work emergencies unless someone's dying. Deal. And Mom, I'm calling twice a week, just to chat, like Zoe does. She kept her word. It's been a year now. Victoria calls every Tuesday and Friday. We have Sunday dinner once a month. Marcus calls every other week, and we have lunch once a month. It's not perfect. Sometimes they're busy, sometimes they cancel, but they reschedule, they show up, they're trying. Zoe still calls twice a week. She's moving into my guest room next month while she saves for a house of her own. She doesn't know about the will yet. That's a surprise for after I'm gone. I'm 72 now. I'm taking Italian lessons because I'm going to Rome next spring with my book club. I'm learning to paint portraits. I'm volunteering 3 days a week at the museum. I'm having dinner parties with friends who actually show up. My children are part of my life, but they're not my whole life anymore. And that thing I learned the day of my graduation, that love has office hours for some people, that not everyone who says they'll show up will actually come, I learned it wasn't about them changing. It was about me finally understanding that I deserved the same energy I gave, that I was worth showing up for, even if I had to show up for myself first, that at 71, it wasn't too late to graduate from being a mother who accepted anything. I graduated summa cum laude, after all, in more ways than one.